It now gives me great pleasure to introduce you to our first keynote speaker, Mr. WANG Shi, who is chairman and founder of Vanke. Since founding the company in 1984, Mr. Wang has profoundly shaped Vanke's corporate vision, ethics, and management strategies. Under his leadership, the company has grown quickly into China's largest home developer and a benchmark for the Chinese real estate. In recent years, Mr. Wang led environmental initiatives among China private sector companies, particularly in the area of natural habitat preservation, garbage recycling, and forest conservation. And in 2004, he founded the Society of Entrepreneurs in Ecology, China's largest environmental network involving private sector business leaders. As a passionate mountaineer, Mr. Wang has summited Mount Everest twice and is only the 11th person in the world to accomplish the 7+2 challenge, reaching the 7 summits in 2004 and the North and South Poles in 2005. This experience inspired his global vision of environmental sustainability. Mr. Wang sits on the board of the World Wildlife Fund US and the World Economic Forum Global Agenda Council on Governance for Sustainability. He was also elected chairman of China Entrepreneurs Forum in July 2012. He is currently a visiting research fellow at Harvard University, specializing in business value and ethics. Mr. WANG Shi.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm pleasure have a chance to give a speech in this area. My topics that are evolution. These are 2 teacups, one sold in Europe in the 18th century. One was exported from China, one from Japan. Take a guess, which one was made in Japan? Yeah, right, you are right. Before Middle East century, both Europe and Japan imported lots of Chinese export teacups. Yet slowly and surely, Chinese found that Japanese stopped ordering teacups from them. Later, they found Japanese teacups showing up in the European market and taking their orders away. How did this happen? Well, at first, the Japanese were good at replicating and replacing the Chinese cups imported to Japan. Then they quickly found that the straight-up angle of Chinese cups was not a good fit for European nose. They improved original design and made the angle of the opening wider, something like that, Japanese style. By doing so, Japanese cups replaced the Chinese cups from the European market. Silk was a similar case where Japan successfully copied and outcompeted Chinese products. My presentation will take a look at the path of East Asia countries in emulation and innovation. Historically, Japan and Korea were passionate followers and mimics of foreign ideas and technologies, forced from China, and then hare. In Chinese pronunciation, the hare. Hare was one of the early birds. It introduced the German and the production line and set up many R&D centers in the world to follow the latest technologies. Haier became the world's biggest brand of fridges, washers, and air conditioners in 2009. China's IT sector grew by emulating American online business models. Some even exceeded their prototypes. Tencent, 腾讯 probably has the best system of learning and emulating in China. It set up a whole R&D unit to monitor the latest innovations in the world. Whenever they find any new technologies interesting, they immediately form a team to check and make sure that they do not miss the first 3 seats in the new product line. What is it that made follows strategy to attractive to East Asian companies? Let's look at cycling. If you ever did a team race, you know that you always be better than you would be an individual race. Why? Because aerodynamic made sure that the leading cycle always bears the biggest resistance force for the rest of the team. It is the same case when it comes to business emulation. Our research shows that emulation takes only half of the innovation cost and 72% of the time required by developing a new product. Emulation saves time and cost and avoid risks of future. Furthermore, followers usually have a cost advantage or developing new products. For emerging economies, mimicry is apparently the safest bet for catching up with Europe and North America. Of course, that some danger. Of course, poor copy is another story. In 2007, Mercedes sure 双环 alter for copying its design. The ruling of the court was that every imported 双环 car will be charged a fine of 250,000 euros. That ran an alarm for Chinese brand that grow by copying legal risks, for sure. But the biggest risk of all for these copiers are probably dependency and weak adaptive capacity. A recent survey of global executives from KPMG that 45% of respondents named China the next technology innovation center in the world. Are we truly ready for that? I'm skeptical. For both Japan and Korea, R&D expenditures as the share of GDP exceeds 3%. This is higher than the US and the OECD. China's R&D ratio is standing at a much lower level, only 1.7%. China's GDP is bigger than Japan, but its annual patent filings at PCT is less than half of Japan. The followers' strategy creates tremendous economic opportunities, but has not brought an upgrade to China's innovation capacity. Is R&D money the only thing required? What else matters? European explorers made great discoveries at the end of the 15th century. Yet they achieved this with meager conditions. Columbus found the new continent with only 3 ships and 87 sailors, some of whom were released prisoners. Vasco da Gama, he found the route to reach India with 4 ships and 170 men. But the discovery changed the course of human history forever. But decades before the first Europeans arrived, a huge Chinese fleet already made 7 extraordinary voyages to the South Pacific and the Indian Oceans. They passed along the coast of Indonesia, India, Middle East, and reached as far as East Africa. The fleet had more than 200 ocean ships and 20,000 well-trained soldiers aboard. But the voyages led to no great discovery. Why was that? An obvious reason is that Chinese journeys were pure diplomatic show-offs. The navigators had to make sure that they always stayed on the safest and familiar course possible to avoid any risks. For European sailors, the motivation was very different. Signing a contract with the kings, they had to adventure for beyond the old world to search for new wealth. Adventurism did make a big difference. This paradox can best be explained by the law of retarding leader, as articulated by Lieutenant Styranos. China's more advanced position in culture and technology ended up blocking its path to further progress. And not not advanced, too advanced about techniques, but that's become the retarding leader. That Chinese just refused to think that there would be anything to learn from the outside world. China has a world-class shipbuilding technologies in 15th century, such as sails, airproof, and steering wheel, but the Chinese never bothered putting them to use in ocean navigation. After the Opium War, China was forced to open up its border by European gunboats and became a semi-colonial society. Impressed by the industrial might of the West, a sect within the Chinese government launched reform to study Western technologies. In later 19th century, a reform known as the self-strengthening movement. They built modern gunboats equipped with Western weapons and ran as the largest steel refinery and arm factories. But this did not prevent Chinese defeated in a war against Japan in 1895. Why did this learning attempt fail? Also, the Chinese government wanted to learn new technologies. They could not tolerate the Western spirit of free thinking and adventurism. Without the source of Western innovation, apparently pure obsessions with the techniques would not lead China to modernization. In contrast, the Meiji reform around the same period led Japan to modernization. Why did it work in Japan? Even when Japan's borders were closed in 18th and 19th centuries, the Tokugawa government, that before reform, Meiji reform, that period, the Tokugawa period. The Tokugawa government encouraged Dutch studies to introduce Western knowledge. Over the century before the Meiji reform, there had been more than 100 Japanese specialists in Western studies. Together, they translate 500 Western books in geographic, medicine, physics, astronomy, linguistics, as well as philosophy. This systemic learning and open attitude paved the way to Japan's transformation in productivity and thought. And some are compared. The audience can guess which one of color belong you, your company, or your family, right? Blue, right. That may be that personal opinion. Right. That's a personal relationship. Ego. Which one belong Western idea? Right? Blue. And leadership. Deal with the problem. Party. Traveling. Of course, that express the personal anger, right? So that compared. So that last part. In 2011, we found ourselves the world's largest residential developer and the third largest developer of all kinds in 2011. That all kind not means all kind of industry, all kind different property developer. Yeah. And Chinese real estate, because that the boom in Chinese real estate sector, other Chinese companies also made their way to the global top 20 list. Despite the growth in quantity, we are very conscious of gaps in quality and capacity. And because the time nearly passed, I have no time to speak more. But I want to say some conclusion. Maybe when I, as the developer, appear there, many audience when asked me first question, what about the price? The property in China. What about the problem? I said, of course, that the property, the price now in China very high. That's a big problem. And that the bubble, if the bubble broken, that's a very big, huge problem. So I agree with the central government, the policy, how to control that the price. And even now, I believe that the policy that success. And what about the next, about the future, about next year? That's uncertain. I hope new government continue control the price. That's my opinion. But what about I appear in there, in UK? I think that for me, for my company, that's very important, because I think that the price of high of quality that's the problem for customers, for the economic developing health. But for me, I think for my company, and more important that how to face that the earth, because climate warming. So that's why I'm there, not only to speak some my opinion, also study the day that before yesterday, and visit the Eden project, that bonetic, the very, very exciting. I think, what about protecting environment? How to, for the future, our company can learn a lot of from UK. So I can only mention the BRE, that very famous construction environment research center that cooperate with them and can learn more, a lot from UK. That's what I'm there. So thanks the chairman giving me the opportunity to give some opinion and idea. Thanks.